Imagine peeling back the curtain of American history and finding not triumphs, not heroes, but secrets that were never meant to be seen. Among the shadows of the Cold War, one name surfaces again and again: MKUltra. It sounds like a code from a science fiction novel, but it was real. A classified CIA program that sought to unlock the human mind, not to enlighten it, but to control it. What began as a response to fear would grow into one of the most controversial projects in U.S. history. And its echoes still shape the way we think about secrecy, power, and trust. The early 1950s were an age of anxiety. The Cold War had frozen the world into two camps, and paranoia spread faster than any virus. Reports from the Korean War told of captured American soldiers who returned home strangely compliant, repeating rehearsed statements, praising their captors. The fear was that adversaries had discovered a way to brainwash the human mind. If true, it meant the United States was already behind in a terrifying new arms race, one that targeted not cities or armies, but thought itself. So, in 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized a program with sweeping powers. Sidney Gottlieb, the agency's brilliant but eccentric chemist, was placed in charge. With Gottlieb at the helm, Project MKUltra was born. Its mission was simple in words, but staggering in ambition. Learn how to break a person's will, and learn how to rebuild it. The program spread like roots underground, branching into more than 100 subprojects. Its reach extended into universities, hospitals, military bases, and even unsuspecting neighborhoods. Researchers experimented with psychoactive chemicals to see if they could loosen tongues, erase memories, or even implant new personalities. But chemicals were only part of the story. There were experiments in sensory deprivation, where subjects floated in tanks of silent darkness until reality slipped away. There were trials with hypnosis, meant to push suggestion deeper into the subconscious. And there were isolation studies, stretching for days, where time itself seemed to dissolve. All of this was done in the name of science, but not the kind that heals. This was science twisted into a weapon. Patients who had come seeking treatment for ordinary struggles often found themselves transformed into unwitting test subjects, their trust exploited by the very people sworn to help them. Some of MKUltra's operations read like fiction. One branch, later exposed as Operation Midnight Climax, involved secret safehouses designed to observe human behavior in controlled but deceptive settings. Hidden microphones, one-way mirrors, and secret recordings captured moments participants never realized were part of an experiment. In Canada, psychiatrist Donald Ewan Cameron pursued his own disturbing line of inquiry. His psychic driving experiments sought to wipe patients' minds clean, as if erasing a chalkboard, before writing new personalities on the blank slate. His methods included weeks of induced sleep, looping tapes played for hours, and intense electroshock sessions. The results were catastrophic. Patients left his care unable to recognize family members, unable to recall their own pasts, and in many cases, unable to function in the present. For those who entrusted him with their healing, it was betrayal in its purest form. The most haunting stories are not the experiments themselves, but the people lost inside them. Consider Frank Olson, a government scientist working with biological research. In 1953, without his knowledge, he was given a powerful psychoactive dose during a retreat. The following days were marked by confusion and terror. He began speaking of wanting to leave the program. He confessed to colleagues that he had seen too much. And then, one night in New York, he fell from the window of a hotel room. The official explanation framed it as a personal tragedy, but over the decades, his family pressed for answers. Evidence mounted that Olson's death was not a tragedy of despair, but something darker, a silenced witness to secrets too explosive to reveal. His story is just one thread, but it captures the core of MKUltra. People reduced to instruments, their dignity sacrificed in the pursuit of control. For 20 years, MKUltra thrived in the shadows. Its records were hidden, its victims often silenced by confusion or shame. But secrecy has a way of unraveling. By the mid-1970s, the United States itself was in a crisis of trust. Watergate had revealed the reach of political corruption. Vietnam had fractured public faith in government. In that climate, whispers of CIA experiments grew too loud to ignore. Congress launched the Church Committee hearings. The Rockefeller Commission added further pressure. Bit by bit, details of MKUltra slipped into public view. Senators listened as witnesses described experiments that sounded more like dystopian horror than democratic policy. Yet even in exposure, much was lost. In 1973, as the program wound down, CIA Director Richard Helms had ordered the destruction of the bulk of MKUltra's files. Tens of thousands of pages were shredded, leaving only fragments behind. What we know today comes not from full records, but from a handful of surviving documents, declassified years later, and the scattered memories of those who endured the tests. In 1976, President Gerald Ford issued an executive order prohibiting non-consensual experiments on American citizens. It was a line drawn in law, but for many it came years too late. Decades have passed, but MKUltra has never faded from the public imagination. It appears in novels, films, even pop culture hits like Stranger Things, which borrowed its shadowy themes for fiction. The very name has become a symbol of unchecked power and broken trust. Modern voices continue to raise it as a warning. Candace Owens points to MKUltra as proof that even advanced democracies can betray their citizens in the name of security. Joe Rogan often marvels at its extremes, using it as an example of how truth can outpace fiction. Russell Brand sees in it a metaphor for modern manipulation, not with chemicals, but with constant streams of media and persuasion. Even more controversial figures, like Alex Jones, invoke it as evidence of deeper, hidden programs. And inevitably, conspiracy theories flourish. Some argue that MKUltra never truly ended, but simply evolved, that the tactics of influence and persuasion are alive today, woven not into laboratories, but into advertising, entertainment, and politics. Whether or not those claims hold weight, one fact is undeniable. MKUltra left a scar. And scars, even when the wound is closed, remain as permanent reminders. Here lies the final irony. MKUltra was created out of fear. Fear that foreign enemies could control minds. But in fighting that phantom threat, America's own intelligence agency crossed into forbidden territory. It sought to protect freedom, but in doing so, it stripped freedom from those caught in its web. It feared the manipulation of minds abroad, yet practiced that manipulation at home. The true legacy of MKUltra isn't found in laboratories or shredded documents. It's in the erosion of trust between a government and its people. And once that trust is broken, no experiment can put it back together. The question we are left with is not whether MKUltra went too far. That much is certain. The real question is whether, even now, we fully understand the cost of secrets kept in the name of safety. The story of MKUltra reminds us that history's deepest secrets still shape our present. If you found this exploration revealing, help us uncover more by liking this video and subscribing to Y Factor. Your support ensures these hidden chapters of history are never forgotten.